Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Here are the stories coming up on the program right now. A warning shot to disperse hoodlums has ended the life of a teenager identified as Ismail Mohammed in Zaria, Kaduna State, when the protests in Samaru area took a different turn. Chief of Defense Staff commits to going after the enemies of the state, taking advantage of the nationwide protests against hunger and hardship to cause anarchy. And Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Falana, asks protesters to re-strategize and further demand accountability from state governors and sub-national representatives who are now exposed to more funds disbursed by the federal government. Thanks again for joining us on the program. Let's begin from Zaria, where we understand that the Army Director of Army Public Relations, Major General Onyema Nwachukwu, says a soldier involved in the killing of a teenager has been arrested and is undergoing interrogation. This is following the killing of a teenager by a soldier in Samaru area of Zaria in Kaduna State during the End Bad Governance protest, which turned violent on Tuesday. The victim, Ismail Mohammed, was said to have been shot by a soldier inside his father's compound while security operatives were enforcing the 24-hour curfew imposed by the Kaduna State government. The incident occurred when hoodlums blocked the road, setting fires and brazenly attempting to attack the troops, prompting the soldiers to fire a warning shot to scare them away, but it hit the teenager. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, sent a delegation led by the General Officer commanding 1 Division, Major General Landa Sarasu, to visit and condole with the family of the victim. Well, that's the latest coming in from that particular incident in Kaduna State that happened yesterday. Our thoughts and our prayers are with the families of that young boy. Let's move on now from there to tell you that after several Security Council meetings with heads of respective agencies, the Yobe State Governor, Mai Malabuni, has further relaxed the curfew in Potiskum, Gashua, and Nguru towns following the nationwide protests that went violent. According to a statement by the Director General of the Press and Media Affairs to the Governor, the curfew now starts from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. effective from today, August the 7th. The meeting noted with dismay the sudden appearance of hoodlums and criminals who did hide under the nationwide protests to destroy and loot government and private property in the affected local government councils. It has cautioned parents and guidance to always monitor their words and not to allow them to be used as agents of destruction and violence. Also, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has read the Riot Act to protesters, saying the armed forces are prepared to deal with enemies of the Nigerian state. Speaking in Abuja at the joint briefing of the heads of security agencies, General Musa says the armed forces are united in their resolve to deal with anyone or groups of persons who attempt to destabilize the country. Also speaking at the event, Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetekun denied allegation of deploying live ammunition to disperse protesters, while stating that those flying foreign flags will be prosecuted for treason.
We're committed in our task and that we love Nigeria. We don't want anything bad to happen to Nigeria, and that is very important for everyone to understand. None of us here is happy to hear any Nigerian is injured for whatever reason. It's our duty to protect Nigerians. The only people we're after are those ones that don't mean us well, the enemies of the state. And anyone who makes himself an enemy of the state then will be ready to face the law. We're going to remain focused, committed. We're going to respect human rights, the rights of everyone who is lawfully performing his task or his duty, but we will not relent in pursuing those that have continued to encourage unconstitutional takeover of government or subversion, or those ones are into vandalism or destruction of lives and property.
We can also tell you that human rights lawyer Mr. Falana has weighed in on the issue of disbursement of funds to the state government and the Federal Capital Territory in the last 10 months. Mr. Falana explains that protesters should now go to the states, meet their representatives and ask what projects the federal government disbursement will be used for. He spoke on our political program, Politics Today.
First subsidy last year had enriched the three tiers of government in the country: the federal government, the local government, and state government. And in June last year, yes, 900 billion naira was shared. But actually what came to the coffers then was 1.9 trillion. Now, happily, the federal government has now been compelled to say the total sum of 570 billion naira had gone to the states in the last 9 months or thereabout. So if you have that kind of money in our country, I am challenging the elite. I'm challenging our people, traditional institutions, youth organizations, women groups, and the rest of them to go to each of the states and demand from the governments what projects are going to be carried out from this fund. I'm also pleading with Nigerians to ask the legislators, those who took 500 million naira in Abuja, the Senate president that took 4 billion naira for constancy project. This is the time to ask what these projects are about. We must ask each of the legislators in Abuja so that we can begin to take accountability seriously.
All right, so that's the remark coming in from the senior lawyer, Falana, talking about not just the federal government should be in focus at this time, the state government as well. But something happened today in Rivers State. So we want to switch gears to Rivers State for a moment before I introduce my guest right here in the studio and in our Kano studio as we explore some of the issues happening in the country. Our correspondent reported that protesters were being harassed by hoodlums and thugs in the full glare of some policemen that were there. She was even harassed as well, although the police has, the CP, Olatunji Dusu, has apologized to our correspondent and says he's going to investigate. He's at the center, at that very venue, the Federal Secretariat in Port Harcourt, where protesters converge. So let's speak to our correspondent, Charles Operon, who is standing by with the CP. Charles, if you can hear me.
I hear you, Jeff. Good afternoon.
All right, sure. So let's see. So is the CP by your side so we can speak to him if he can hear us from here?
Okay, the CP is standing here. Yeah, CP, please, is right here.
All right. So,
sorry.
All right. So, Charles, maybe you can help us. Maybe because of the technical glitch and all of that, help us find out exactly what's the latest update as far as this incident that occurred today is concerned.
Good afternoon. I'm here. I can hear you now.
All right.
Okay, so the incident that occurred today, in front of the Federal Secretariat, we would like to know what exactly transpired, because we have reports that some thugs were here earlier today chasing away people, and even my colleague suffered some level of harassment. So we'd like for you to clear the air on what transpired and what is being done about it.
The nature of the change from yesterday, where we have a lot of people moving around, young members, eating people down, wipers, and stealing. We even started running there. So we expected that this morning. We expected a lot of things to happen that way before 5 weeks. That is very amazing. A lot of things have been happening as well. We got talented some people who stole your health. So these ones are by captain, so everywhere I see people trying to treat us. That's all.
So one of the complaints from the lady who was harassed here today, the journalist, she said some policemen were actually standing by, watching while she was being harassed by thugs right here in front of the Secretariat. So we'd like to know whether anything is going to be done, because the police is supposed to protect the lives and properties of citizens, and they're not supposed to just stand by and watch someone who is doing her lawful job be harassed. What's going to happen?
Like I spoke to her, that is strange to happen. It's so strange. I have student police officers. And that's why I came. I'm still going to ask them up. I will present you and I give you my work.
Okay. Finally, sir, you released a statement yesterday. I cannot go into the details of that statement, but basically, since you were calling for an end to the protest or something of that nature, the statement you released yesterday, right? So we don't know. Are you going to be for the first 3 days? The protests were well organized, but it seems like for the past 2 days they appear to be getting rowdier and rowdier. So what is the police going to be doing from now going forward?
I had this question. That means you find about you like the organizers the protest grew bigger. Then they went down, started taking those into their hands. Like I mentioned earlier, we just arrested some thieves who stole POS. 3 of them are dead. And I know hoodlums are planning to make sure they don't get out of hand for them to start stealing. We have instructed our men to be at alert, to open their eyes, and ensure they no longer proceed from one side of the town. We have given them areas they can now in any time to go by the park and treasure park. And they are there for mooring, doing their business. We have told our men to open their eyes and ensure that take decisive action anybody takes notice. If not have right, to harass the other members.
All right.
Somewhere.
All right.
Started providing their doing this matter. They have decided to do their job. They are trying to control the people for them. I don't force them to join them.
Thank you very much, sir. Jeff.
All right, Charles, thank you so much for reporting, and to the CP as well, just to keep up as much good work as he can, because River State was one of the bright spots as far as this protest was concerned. So this narrative is really not looking good for the law enforcement. But we must thank you, Charles, and the CP as well. Let's come back here to our Lagos today. I have with me legal practitioner, one of the lawyers to the protesters, Yobe Hefyong. I'm talking about here in Lagos. Thank you for coming on the program. Also joining us from our Kano studio is Mr. Baba Dantier, is the Kano State Commissioner for Information. Mr. Dantier, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Dantier, let me start with you as quickly as possible. Let's talk about the latest update as far as the arrest of foreigners or people that are being said to be sponsoring this flying the foreign flags of a foreign country on our sovereign soil. Just a bit of an update from your end.
Well, as at yesterday, the police arrested 125 that were carrying flags, and about 600 generally, from the protest. And they've been tried now. The Chief Judge has set up 3 magistrate courts, or designated 3 magistrate courts for quick trial, and to ensure that the constitutional provision of, trying them, not detaining them beyond 24 hours of that trial is respected. So they have been tried, and the courts are sitting at the police headquarters, to reduce the logistics of carrying them to courts. And the DSS have arrested one person in a black Mercedes Benz distributing the flags, and I'm sure they are investigating that aspect. And they've also arrested many tailors that are suing the flags and distributing the flags to the people. Apparently, the young people don't even know what they're doing, or don't even know the consequences of their action. But I think the security agencies are digging deep to find out who are the sponsors or who are those behind this unacceptable act to our country.
All right, so we're going to come back to you, Honorable Commissioner, in a moment. Let me bring it to our studio with Yobe Hefyong. Yobe, one of the first things I want you to respond to is this incident of flag and what the law says, as well as the IGP, as of yesterday during that joint briefing, had said that policemen did not use live ammunition on anyone. So the big question everyone is asking, if people died, how did they die? I want your response to that.
Well, let me start with that of the IGP. I don't think anybody believes him. and the IG knows that what he said is not accurate, except he's telling us not to believe our eyes, not to believe what we can all see. The videos are all over social media, but there is one of a particular officer, I think in Kano, who is caught chasing protesters and opening fire, opening fire. There is also a video of a senior police officer who was basically saying loudly that he's going to kill protesters. So for the IG to say live rounds were not used, I don't think anybody takes that seriously. Regarding the issue of the flag, there are two dimensions to it. And my first position is to say that if the flying of these flags is part of a grand plot to destabilize our country, I condemn it in its entirety. For us who are playing some part in this end bad governance protest, I don't think the protesters are interested in any foreign intervention. The use of the Russian flag is not part of the issues that the protesters are talking about. I see it as a complete distraction, and it should stop. However, does that amount to treason? Can someone be tried for treason for carrying the Russian flag? I do not agree. I completely disagree with the position of the military that those who are carrying Russian flags are committing treasonable felony. Well, what are they talking about? Flying of foreign flags in our country has never been an offense. In many hotels, many five-star hotels in Nigeria, we see flags of foreign nations decorating those hotels. Even in schools in our country, we see foreign flags. So what is special about Russia? Except they are saying that it is treason when it is Russian flag, it is not treason if it is an American flag, or if it is a Ghanaian flag. So there is no special place for Russian flag under the law.
I guess what the military...
That makes any other flag, that makes it superior.
I guess what they are saying, if you look, of course, you're the lawyer here, section 41, I think, of the criminal code that talks about all of this issue of treason. Some of the people were actually calling the military to take over.
That is condemnable. Completely condemnable. There is no allowance for military intervention. And those of us who have read a bit of history, we know that that doesn't offer a solution. We can see what is happening in countries that militaries have intervened. In fact, when they come in, you now struggle to push them out. That is not our message. That is not what the protesters are demanding for. At least those that I represent, they are not calling for any military intervention. We don't need that in our country. What we simply want is an end to bad governance. So those who are calling on the military to intervene should be investigated. But I want to re-emphasize that if you say someone has committed treason, what the law defines as treason is waging war against the state with the intention of overawing, right, or intimidating the president or a governor. You cannot do that by simply displaying a flag. There has to be what we call an animus. The intent, the mens rea, to show that beyond carrying of the flag, there is a grand plan to overthrow government or to demand, foreign intervention. I don't think that is the truth. And let me also say, as I have stated, that under the Flags and National Code, the Act, it is not a criminal offense, ordinarily, to fly the flag of a foreign country, especially when it is not our national flag and it is not a flag of the Commonwealth. So I don't see how this is an offense in itself. And I'm waiting for the army to actually refer the matter to the police, to file charges or the Ministry of Justice. Let us see how it will hold up. It is not an offense because, as I have stated, flags of foreign nations are constantly flown in hotels, even in governments, even in the villa. When foreign heads of states come, we see the flags of their nations being adorned. So it cannot be only treason when protesters are carrying it. But I condemn the introduction of the flag. I just needed to say that on the basis of the law, the Flags and the Coat of Arms Act, I don't see how that is an offense. Now, they have also said, I heard what the head of immigration said, that they're investigating foreign sponsors and collaborators. I think that shows how deceitful and dishonest the government is. You say you want a dialogue, and your response is to say, those who are abroad that are supporting the protests, you are going to arrest them if they come into the country. For what offense? There is no law that says if you are a Nigerian living abroad, you should not participate in the politics of your country, or should not have an opinion in the politics of your country. The government is chasing shadows. All these arguments about sponsorship, that some people are coming to overthrow the government, I don't believe it. I think it is just a mass and complete distraction. Nigerians are demanding an end to bad governance. Guess what? Before I came to this studio this morning, I woke up to the news that the president has appointed Bello Masari, as the head of TETFON, right? This is a man who is 74 years, served as governor 2019 until he handed over last year. And you're appointing a 74-year-old man to be the head of TETFON. One of the demands of the protesters is education. So So your response to the demand of the end governance protesters to education is to appoint Masari to be head of TED Fund.
What's wrong with Masari?
Your response, I mean, why are you bringing a 74-year-old man to head TED Fund?
So age is the problem.
Part of the problem. His legacy in Katsina is nothing to write home about.
Okay.
It's nothing to write. Under him as governors, people were killed. I'm just saying that the optics are important. If you want to engage, if you want dialogue, why are you threatening people? Why are you closing their accounts? Why are you killing people? Why are you arresting people? Why are you threatening to put people on watch lists? If the government wants to talk to the protesters, listen to the demands and address the issues.
All right, let's take it to Kano now. With the Kano, it's a little bit of a different narrative. Concerns. And now, Honorable Commissioners, talk to us about how the Kano government is internalizing what is going on. We've seen young children who know next to nothing by your own admission and what we've seen, literally being used. Doesn't that bother the North or the Northern elites?
Certainly it does. Certainly it does. And in Kano, as you are aware, before the protest, the governor held a stakeholders meeting, and of course the attention of parents and everybody was drawn to dissuade their children from participating in this protest or in violent protest. And I'm happy to say that in Kano, the people that I think that raise those flags and calling for Russia to come and perhaps take over or rule over Nigeria, and that was their slogan. And I agree. I am sure they are not, and I know they are not part of those that organize the peaceful protest, because those that organized the peaceful protest even held a press conference yesterday and distanced themselves, because they said they did their protest peacefully and went to the governor, and the governor has promised that he will receive them. He received their message and promised that he will deliver the message to Mr. President. However, the participation of those young boys, even yesterday, the governor held a meeting and discussed of how to go about dealing with a situation like this. But I'm sure you know that the cardinal principle or the cardinal priority of this government, of Alhaji Abba Kabir's government, is education, and that's why he has declared emergency in the education sector, and also now the priority also is to bring back the 26 entrepreneurship institutions that were set up, that were built by Governor Konkoso, and when the governor was commissioner for works, and which were all abandoned or closed down by the previous government of Dr. Abdoulaye Ganduje. All of them were not in existence when the governor came back. They were all closed down. And these were the institutions that helped, to try to mop up those unemployed, those small children, and also, with the declaration of emergency education. Now, a lot of resources is going to be deployed, because we know the road we met in the education sector, and that's the key thing. And the education, when we're talking about education or support to education, is not only in the normal conventional schools, even the Quranic schools, because they also have a lot of population of young boys and girls, and these young boys and girls need to be supported. So a lot of things are going on in terms of, and now you can see that part of the program now in Kano is that the government has come up with a policy that each month there's given 5,000 women 5,000 naira as support to go.
All right, because of time, let me butt in because of time.
Entrepreneurial activities.
If I may, let me butt in because of time. Let's bring it back here to our Lagos studio. As we're going to wind down, the protest. This is day 7, and we haven't seen much. It looks like the momentum has been dwindling as the day go by, because following what we've been seeing. Yesterday we saw a reporter from another station being harassed and all of that. Police is there on the other end, and this guy is being harassed on this other end. So are they ready to go the 10 days long haul? And after then, what happens? Because you are the lawyer to the protesters, so maybe give us an insider scoop.
I know that for Lagos, let me start with Lagos. Some discussions have been taking place, and from what I have heard, from what I know, the protesters have a bit re-strategized in Lagos. They plan to hold a candlelight procession to honor some of the protesters that have been killed, that have been attacked, and also the journalists that have also been victim of the clampdown on the protesters. For other parts of the country, whether the momentum has reduced, I think you have to contextualize it. The important point is that Nigerians...
Yeah, I'm talking about Lagos.
Yes, in Lagos, if anyone's surprised, you see what is happening at the Ganifa Wemi Park. And it is painful to me, as a disciple of Ganifa Wemi. It is painful to me, as someone that took inspiration from Ganifa Wemi, that the Lagos State government that named that park in his memory, in his honor, is sitting back and is allowing the memory of a legend to be dishonored by permitting, directly or indirectly, criminal elements and thugs to unleash mayhem at the park. I have been there a couple of times during the course of this protest. And you see these thugs basically invade the place, chase people, attack journalists, beat up people, and ask them to leave in the full glare of the CP. And when I spoke with the Commissioner of Police, he had assured us that as long as the protesters are gathered at the park, they were going to be protected. That has not been the case. It is also very painful that it is also the Lagos State government that went to court to limit the protesters to the park. In fact, we are hearing that yesterday, they went back before the vacation court and got a further extension. So the Lagos State government says, no, please stay at the Ganifa Wemi Park, which is even an infringement on the right to peaceful assembly, and that will be challenged. And at the same time, thugs are attacking people at the park. People are being hunted. For what? Nigerians have the right to gather. Nigerians have the right to express themselves. People have also been arrested. Well, thankfully, we've been able to get them out. But that is not the case in many parts of the country. And the protest in Lagos has been largely peaceful. Look at the report your reporter is giving you in Port Harcourt. Look at what is happening in Abuja. Even Kano, peaceful protesters are being attacked. What does the government want? When you say people should not protest peacefully, what are you calling for? Because they keep talking about violence. Government is the one that is instigating this violence. If the government has no hand, I want the Commissioner of Police, Lagos State, to tell Nigerians how many of these thugs have been arrested, including those who attack journalists, and in other parts of the country. When are they going to be arraigned in court? So that we will know that the police is not complicit? Because let me also mention to you, some of the people that we got out of detention, especially those at the Lekki toll gate, do you know that they were arrested? In fact, not arrested, they were grabbed by thugs, kidnapped by thugs, and handed over to the police. This is not hearsay. So this has to stop.
We're going to get the CP to maybe react to some of these things, because I know that Lagos State government has also opened a channel of engagement. But we must thank you, Inibe Effiong, legal practitioner, and one of the lawyers to the protesters. So you didn't tell me, are they going to stop in day 10 or they will continue? Just one. Officially,
it was stated for the 10.
Okay.
And I expect the action to go on.
All right. Thank you so much.
Because the government has not addressed the demands.
We're totally out of time. Baba Dantier is the Honorable Commissioner for Information in Kano State. I want to thank you, sir, for the short time you have that you brought your insight. And our eyes are also very strong on Kano, given what we've seen in the last few days. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program. Inibe, thank you as well.
Thank you.
Well, that's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga. I've been Politics.